The home buying process is fairly straightforward, but there are lots of steps along the way. The one thing to keep in mind is that our local market tends to be competitive with multiple offer situations, so as a home buyer, you need to be prepared. Being prepared will make your offer stronger, protect you from risk, and ensure a successful home buying experience. Hi, I'm Vinicius Brasil with the Brasil Group and Keller Williams. I've been in residential real estate here in the Bay Area for 20 years, helping buyers make great home buying decisions. This video is part of our home buyer series, everything you need to know before you buy a home. Today, I'm going over homes and properties, understanding the differences and the things to look for. Well, we've heard it before, location, location, location. There are two types of location of a property to consider. The overall location, such as the area, the city, or the neighborhood the property is located in, and there's the immediate location. I'm not going over the overall location because this is personal and it'll depend on the buyer. But just as important is the immediate location where the home is situated. Is the home on a busy street? Is it on the corner of a busy street? Is it close to busy roads where a car or train noise is audible? Is it a corner lot, interior lot, or a cul-de-sac lot? Is it on a T intersection? Or is the lot level or sloped? What's the shape of the lot? All of these factors will influence the desirability of a home. They can also influence what can be done with the property. Understanding the setbacks for building and information can help buyers understand if the property will work for them. I had a situation many years ago where a client I helped sell his home for ended up buying a home through another agent. The market at the time was very tight and he needed to get into a home quickly, and he thought that working with the listing agent would be the best way. After buying the home, he invited me over to take a look. It was a good sized property located on a corner lot. As we were walking through the property, he was telling me of all the ideas that he had and how to improve the property. Because the home is on a corner lot, there are different setbacks that a home buyer or a homeowner should be aware of. Because he wasn't aware of these setbacks, I had to explain to him that some of the plans that he had were probably not going to be possible. This is an example of how understanding how a lot can impact what can be done to the property. The best way to explain the different types of properties is to explain what these different types of homes or properties have to offer. A single-family home is a home on its own parcel. It may be subject to an HOA, but the parcel is not shared or it doesn't have shared ownership. Therefore, you have more control over this home and how it can be used and modified. Condos and townhomes have condominium ownership. By the way, when we distinguish townhomes and condos, what we're really talking about is the style of home and not the ownership. When I think of a townhome, I think of a property where there could be multiple levels, but each of these levels are stacked on top of each other and there are only shared walls. A townhome may also have its own attached garage as well. A condo I typically consider to be a one-level unit in a multi-level building. You could have other units on the side, above, or even below you. And typically condos will have shared parking. Even though the style of these properties are different, they have the same type of ownership, which is condominium ownership. Here you have your own space, but have common ownership of the community, areas, and buildings. Therefore, you have shared maintenance obligations to the structure, and although you own your space, you are subject to restrictions on how your space can be modified. One thing to keep in mind is that some townhomes, and you see this with more recent developments in the last 10 to 15 years, provide an illusion of one floor over the other, but in reality there are some overlapping areas, where some floors will overlap a neighboring unit and vice versa. This is done to make the floor plans less narrow. However, there is some overlap, so it's important to understand that. Age and characteristics, as well as construction of a home. We can spend hours on this topic alone, so unfortunately I can't get into too much detail here. The important thing that I do want to mention is that construction has changed significantly in the last 70 years. As you know, most of the property here in Silicon Valley consists of post-war tract housing. These are homes constructed in the 50s and 60s. In addition, we do see pockets of homes built in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, as well as the 2000s. Understanding how these homes are constructed, their limitations and drawbacks will help a buyer develop the right expectations. One thing that gets brought up quite a bit is foundations and structural issues. Homes built in the 50s and 60s unfortunately are not as well engineered as homes that were built later. That doesn't make them bad buys. It just means you need to understand what needs to be done to maintain those homes and protect them from problems down the road. Also, when it comes to improving or expanding these homes, you really should understand some basics so that you can have a better understanding of the problems and costs that you may face in the future. This is where having a knowledgeable agent can really pay off. The next topic is floor plan, and it's pertinent to the topic we just spoke about. How we live is quite different than how people lived in the 50s and 60s, and the homes reflect that. So floor plan is very important when you're assessing a property. So often as buyers, we'll have to make concessions based on the properties that are available to us and our local market. Some properties will lend themselves to being easier to modify than others, enabling a more open feel and a workable floor plan. Identifying these type of homes can save you thousands in future remodeling costs and make it easier to live the way you want to live in your new home. Lastly, there's the overall condition of the home and the home inspection reports. In many cases, homes that you're considering will be outdated or have issues relating to termite damage or foundation cracks. Understanding the severity of these problems helps put them in perspective. Also, having an idea of the costs related to making repairs or updates to a home, whether you need to replace flooring, install new windows, or a new HVAC system. This will help you understand what you're getting into. Also, in our marketplace, there's a fair amount of flipped homes or homes that have undergone significant updates prior to selling. These homes are sometimes very appealing and attract lots of attention and bids. Being able to assess the quality of the improvements and what potential corners may have been cut and how it may affect the livability is important to avoid overpaying for a poorly remodeled home. To recap, today I went over the importance of location, the type of property, its construction, and how these factors affect the desirability of a home, as well as things to be aware of. Many of these topics deal with construction, and the scope of this video is just not in-depth enough to go over every scenario in detail. Again, it's important to be aware of these matters so you know what to look for, and having an experienced agent can also help you identify issues. These are all important considerations to helping you make a great home buying decision. Thanks again for watching. I'm Vinicius Brasil with the Brasil Group and Keller Williams, and be sure to watch our next step in our home buying process, making an offer.